Hey guys, it's Adam aka Swimming Bird, and welcome to Super Mario Maker. Today we're going to check out the Castle Toolset, adding in a bunch of new course elements, including Bowser and his bouncing little baby Junior. But those were unlocked while I was working on my first level. So this is Pikmin 1/2, and it should look familiar if you watched the episode where we unlocked the Olimar Amiibo. I have completely revamped the stage with the help of your comments and suggestions, making it a lot more interesting than before, and adding in different paths, secrets, tons of good stuff. So I'm going to talk about what went into making this thing, as my little puppy paw lays down blocks, and we'll watch it built at 1,000 times the normal speed. So I started off by basically erasing everything that I did before, because I wanted to raise the ground up. I raised up the start and exit and filled in the middle, so now we can have a giant underground section. That was my goal. I kind of experimented with changing the ground type, but I figured it looked a little weird. It wasn't going to be able to phase into the starting area because you can't actually change the blocks at the start and the end. But yeah, I wanted to build a giant underground, kind of like treasure-filled area like in Pikmin 2. Originally, the idea for this course was to use the Olimar Amiibo, make a little onion at the start that drops power-ups for you, and then have a bunch of giant enemies. That's about as far as I thought about it at first. But now, my goal was to make the surface level really tough and filled with enemies to make it kind of a challenge to get through, but then have the underground a little more rewarding. If you go down through the paths, you can find a lot of coins and treasure, and just kind of have it a little bit safer, but still have its own risks. I also wanted to make sure I was including plenty of power-ups and little secrets, because I know a lot of people complain that Mario Maker levels, most people kind of just put a ton of enemies and they don't worry too much about whether it's unfair or, you know, way too hard for people to get through in one shot, and a lot of people just skip those courses and kind of don't give them the time of day in the 100 Mario Challenge because they want to, you know, play courses that are a little more fair and don't just kind of bombard them with baddies all over the place. So you can see the notification telling me the castle elements were going to unlock the next day, but I laid down so many blocks in this video that it unlocked early. But yeah, here I'm messing around with some of the underground elements. I had the idea of making a really tough part with these spinies here. I wanted to have a few enemies big, but also a few little ones to kind of make like they have their babies walking around with them, like the Bulborbs in Pikmin. But yeah, I wanted to make a few challenges where it was like, oh, you have this thing that looks really difficult to get past, but if you're clever about it, you can get by it without too much trouble. So the idea there with the spinies was that there was that platform, and if you shake them, they turn blue, and that means they will fall when you step on them. So the way to get through that, as you'll see here, is you can step on it and make the spinies just fall through, and then they're not a problem anymore, and you'll be able to get through there. I also used a few of the blue platforms up at the top here with these Koopa, but we'll get back to that later. I kind of focused mostly on the underground for a while, and then I messed with the above ground to kind of even it out. I wanted to add in a few little aesthetic things too, like mobs, or I shouldn't call, you know, enemies. Mobs is like Minecraft. Enemies that were stuck in the walls, just to kind of make it look like there's more life under here and has a few more details than you would normally see. So here I am just kind of testing out the beginner part. I put a blooper inside of a Lakitu. I had 2 of them at first, and then I realized that was way too tough. And even one of them, I got rid of that blooper pretty quickly because the bloopers fly through blocks. They are just super annoying. You can't jump on them to kill them, I don't believe. Maybe you can, but they're still just really annoying, especially when you don't even want to deal with them if you're going underground. So I was like, nah, we're going to switch that up. I tried to balance the challenge, though. I played through a few times, tested out a bunch of the elements, making sure that it wasn't too unforgiving. The surface level, I really wanted it to be tough, though, because in Pikmin games, when you're on the surface, there's a lot of scary stuff out that you have to deal with. But if you go underground, there's typically more treasure and more little areas to get away and hide. You can kind of go in with the captains. Take your time, really, when you're underground in Pikmin 2, because the day doesn't progress. I had to put a pipe at the beginning, because one thing I learned from my first attempt at this level was that the giant Koopas break through pretty much anything. They'll break through most of the blocks in the game, but if you have a pipe, it'll bounce back. And that giant Koopa is key to getting underground. You have to break the little breakable blocks. Here I am kind of messing around with some visual patterns. They look like Tetrinos, like the little Tetris blocks, and then it turned into like a jack-o'-lantern face. It's not even Halloween yet, but I'm thinking about that, I guess, because I did that. But yeah, just a few little patterns. Tried to make a little control pad there, but ended up leaving it just to make the underground a little more interesting. So yeah, at the top you can kind of run across and get over that stuff and get to the end pretty quickly. So I made it a bit tougher later. But underground, you have to deal with quite a few things. The giant Koopa that you use to get underground in the first place is kind of scary once it gets down there because it bounces back and forth, but you can use it to take down some of those Goombas and get some extra lives and a power-up. I try to do a lot of risk-reward, where it's like you can get a nice power-up or some type of benefit for taking these risks, but at the same time, there's a lot of danger involved. And I messed around with this to make sure, I had to test this a bunch of times because the Koopa would sometimes get stuck in little spots. I had to make sure it could always go down to the bottom, because otherwise, if that shell wasn't down there, it would be really easy to get all those power-ups for free. But adding the shell, you get a little bit of a challenge, and again, there's that risk to get that reward. I based that a little bit off of Cave Story. If you've ever played that game, there's a part with this one-hit kill creature that runs back and forth, and you can kind of run after it and jump up and get some extra little bonuses, but it is very risky. Tried to hide a few things, like I had some mushrooms popping out of question mark blocks, but if you have a block above it, they just disappear, so I messed around with this a little bit. Also, I wanted to vary a lot of the blocks. Underground, it's most of those really solid blocks that you can't break, so I added in some more breakable blocks, especially with coins hidden inside them, just to give you that feeling that you're collecting a lot of treasure as you go. And of course, the coins are a good way to incentivize someone to take a certain path, so other than this little weird flock of coins I put at the start to give the world a little bit more life, all of the coins are underground in this level, kind of encouraging the player to go down there, because look, that's where all the treasure is. Maybe you should try this path, especially if the upper part looks too difficult, which it will get more and more difficult as I keep adding things to the course, because I really want it to be something that scares the player into going underground to at least explore what's down there, if it wasn't tempting enough with all the coins and everything. And you'll see I have a giant mushroom in there. That's from the 30th anniversary 8-bit Mario Amiibo. We unlocked that last episode, and it makes you giant. It has a bunch of cool effects. Check that out if you haven't seen the last episode. But I threw one in here just to kind of have it trapped as a nice little visual thing. I thought about having it part of the level, but I figure maybe I'll design a level based off of that sometime later, because throwing it in here would turn you back into Mario, it would make you giant. It would pretty much ruin the whole Pikmin aesthetic with Captain Olimar moving around and stuff. And once I unlock the Pikmin costume, had a little problem there with the spinies. Once I unlock the Pikmin costume, I'm gonna put that as a power-up in here as well, so you could switch between the Pikmin and Olimar. But right now we just have Captain Olimar going around whistling his way through the world. So yeah, you can see the ending. If you take the underground path, you can just jump at the bottom of the flagpole pretty easily. I messed around with the spiny hat for Mario. You can shake a spiny and turn it into a little power-up that Mario can wear, and if he jumps up into something, it will kill the enemy because it's protected, and also protect him from different damage and stuff. But yeah, I didn't want to put that in because, again, I figured that's another little element that's best suited for a non-Pikmin themed level, because it turns you back into Mario. And I was pretty careful here with these Koopas. I put a baby on the back as well. I wanted to make sure they walked, they're the red ones, so they walk back and forth. I wanted to make sure they stayed kind of at a good distance where you could leap off of the top of the pipe onion there and hit them without, you know, having too much risk, because it's right at the beginning of the level. You don't want to die immediately, or people might get kind of, you know, frustrated and give up. Here I am messing around with different terrain, trying to copy to spice it up a little bit. And you can see I put some more piranha plants, just normal-sized ones, under the onion there, the fake Mario onion, to replicate the Pikmin one. And that I did that just to kind of make it look like there's a few Pikmin growing underneath it. We could probably get the little small little muncher guys that we unlock later and put those there better, because they would, yeah, they'd look a little bit more like Pikmin, I think. But for now, they're piranha plants. There's a lot of elements I'm going to try to add later on when we unlock new course stuff. But for now, that little onion, the pipe there, is mostly just around to spew out the Amiibo Olimar costume mushrooms. So if you take a hit early on, you can get those. And I put them pretty liberally around this level. There's one right in those little question mark blocks where the shell bounces around. There's quite a few of them. That way, if you get hit, you don't have to worry too much. You can stay Olimar. Because I wanted the player to be, you know, feel like Captain Olimar exploring underground. So I put quite a few of them here. And I messed around with this. It kind of looks like the spikes are flowing through up. You know, I want to connect the underground and the surface levels in a few ways. And later I kind of mess with a little secret here you can see. Now, I put those bullet bill launchers near the spinies to put in the little floating trampolines. You'll see there's trampolines with wings, and that was an element that I added to make it a little more challenging. If you try to like go through that too quickly, you might land on a trampoline and bounce right into the spikes. But by making them fly, I inadvertently made it so that when they fly back, you could get a little secret there. So I hit a star. Now real quick, we're taking a break and going back to normal speed because I unlocked the castle elements at that point, and now I'm playing through the test stage here that shows like the Buzzy Beetles and a few other things, the Hammer Brothers. We got a lot of different elements this time, and the note blocks are in there as well. There's a lot of people that are making crazy auto Mario songs and stuff. Lots of cool stuff out there. And we got the little Podobos, the fireballs, and the castle aesthetic itself. We've unlocked this, so now we can use that. The fire bars. I didn't add a lot of this stuff into the Pikmin level because I figured at this point I was already pretty far in building it, and I didn't want to throw a bunch of other stuff in there just to make it more complicated and more difficult. I like these little note blocks bouncing around. The one-up mushroom. Lots of good ideas in this stage. That's always something I appreciate from Nintendo stages. They give you some good inspiration. You can see the fireballs from Bowser already. We gotta look out for him. And there is a Thwomp over there, but we can avoid it just by going over here with these coins. We got the little skull platforms as well. They go pretty slow, but if you shake them, they become blue, as you'll see here in a little bit. Once we get this stuff at our disposal, you can shake those to make them go much faster. And here's Bowser. I'm trying to use the old fireball trick. This is something I did as a kid a lot. Instead of risking, running by Bowser to get the, hit the axe and drop him into lava, you can take him down with fireballs. It just takes a little bit. I almost got him. There we go. And then just butt pound right into that spiky axe. That would hurt, but Mario's alive. Okay, we didn't even shrink down. The axe does not hurt us. It's just a way to, chop Bowser's bridge in two and leave him in the lava. Turn him into Dry Bowser. I don't think Dry Bowser's in this game, unfortunately, but I'm assuming they might, add some more course elements in the future. So here we go. I'm going to add a, well, not add, but just mess around with some of this stuff, because I wanted to show you all the new things. You can extend that fire bar. You can tap it to change the way that it rotates, and those are pretty scary. I didn't add any into this course because I figured it's already pretty tough as it is, so let's not bother with that. Get that out of there with the eraser. And then here's the little skull platform. Doesn't move too quickly unless it's the blue version, and then it just like zooms across, so you gotta be careful with that. I tried to make sure that I used every little course element, because that's a little tip for you. If you want to unlock this stuff, you need to at least place every one of these things once when you're building, and that'll help you unlock things. And I remembered to save the level after all that time. I was like, ooh, I should probably save. I've been working for quite a while here. The note block, if you shake it, then it changes into something that it plays a different note depending on how high or low you put it in the level. It changes the pitch and stuff. And this is the Mario guide. This is Mario. I love that they gave her that name. She tells us about all the different stuff in the game if you want to learn about it. I just realized how to get into the guide by her telling me about Mario trails, which I'll show you here in a second. But yeah, this is if you want to learn a bit about the game mechanics and how to build and stuff, she'll help out. But yeah, the Mario trails are kind of cool. If you're building a level, especially one with a lot of jumps, where you're going to need to see how far Mario can jump, and, just kind of tracing his trail through the course, you tap on that little icon at the bottom when you're building, and it'll show you, a little ghost image of him running around. So it can be kind of helpful. There we go. You can see it down there by the play button. So yeah, I messed around with these blocks here. Next we're going to get to Bowser. But yeah, the little note blocks change. It's always a lot more fun to see a puppy grabbing everything and dragging around. So Bowser, if you shake him, he becomes Bowser Jr., and they each have different mechanics. I went over to the new Super Mario Bros. U look to show you guys this. So yeah, the Amiibo costumes, you can only use those in Mario Brothers, but I just wanted to get a look at Bowser Jr. in this mode. So he shoots fireballs, just like his daddy, and he has a few other things he can do. He can throw Hammer Brother axes, or hammers, obviously, and he'll do those when he's on somebody's back, I think. And then he also has this ground pound that you gotta look out for, like Mario Brothers 3 Mario, and or Bowser. And when you stomp on him, he goes back into his shell, kind of like the Koopalings. He's similar to the Koopalings in a lot of ways. He kind of fills in for them. And then Bowser, you cannot jump on him. As you see here, I kind of tested out, trying to ground pound him and stuff, but he's more invulnerable than Bowser Jr. because he's got those spikes on him, and he shoots out a lot more fire. But yeah, Bowser Jr.'s got that little stunning ground pound you gotta look out for, kind of like the Sledge Bros, which we'll get into in a second. Here are the little Podobos fireballs. Wherever you place them on the course, can't really shake them and do anything. Wherever you place them on the course, that's as high as they will go, so they always fall back down below the stage, and then they'll jump up to that point. You can do a lot of cool aesthetic stuff with these. I put a few towards the end of the level, as you'll see, but just putting those as a way to to spice up the look of the course, even if they're not dangerous. If you give the illusion of danger by having like fireballs that you can't actually run into or bullet bills, then it kind of makes it look a little more exciting. This is the Buzzy Beetle, and you can put that on Mario just like the Spiny. If you shake it, turn it into the shell, and then drop it on his head, you'll see here you can jump into stuff and it bounces him off of Mario's head, protecting him. There he goes. These Spinies, I made them giant and flying. I didn't realize they were going to shoot out these spikes everywhere, but it works out pretty good because it makes the surface level really scary. You got to be extra careful there. Kind of spread this out because those Paragoombas are getting caught between the pipes. They don't seem the smartest at getting out of there. They're just kind of jumping around and getting stuck in there. But yeah, there we go. So there's the normal Buzzy Beetles. If you put wings on them, they kind of just fly in a straight line, and you can jump on them, use them as little platforms, and they'll kind of go down a little bit. They're very, very similar to the ones in the Super Mario Bros. 3 aesthetic. We'll get that later, but you can kind of ride them a little bit. There's a few courses in the original Mario 3 where you had to do that in the Sky World. And then last but not least, I decided here before I moved on, I was going to put a winged Buzzy Beetle inside of this Lakitu here because I figured that'd be not too difficult. You know, they can't shoot anything at you. They're not too bad. They fly in a straight line, but they'll at least be something to be a little more dangerous. And then the Hammer Brother, you can't shake him. Well, you can, and he'll just throw a hammer at you. But the Hammer Brother is one of the tougher normal enemies from the original Mario Brothers. I thought about putting him in this course, but I was like, man, it's tough enough. I'm going to give myself a little Olimar here. The Hammer Brothers, when you make them giant, though, they do change quite a bit. My puppy paw was not dropping that in the right place for a second there. But yeah, the Hammer Brothers, when you make them giant, they will turn into Sledge Bros, as you'll see in 1 second here. I don't know why my little puppy paw did not want to drop that. So, so yeah, here we go. I'm going to grab one, and then we'll give him a mushroom, and you can see the Sledge Bros. These are never before seen in the original Mario Brothers. If you shake them, they just lose the mushroom. But yeah, these guys will stomp and shake the ground. You got to be careful because they are heavy, and they don't seem to throw the hammers quite as voraciously as their smaller brethren. And then I get to this point, there you see he slams just like a Thwomp or a Bowser Jr. and shakes the ground a little bit and can stun you if you're not careful. But yeah, that got a little crazy. The surface of this level is definitely not somewhere you want to hang out too much because you can get in trouble. So I threw a few fireballs at the end there just to kind of spice up that little pit where the giant Koopa falls. Made a little alcove to hide just in case the Lakitu's throwing too many Buzzy Beetles for you. Got a giant Thwomp here. Trying to really make the surface seem extra dangerous so that you are encouraged to go down below. And I did try putting a Hammer Brother in the spot with the giant mushroom, but it really just kind of, he was just throwing stuff constantly, messing with you, and it just made it a little tougher than I wanted it to be. I think it should be a good amount of challenge, but not unfair, is the type of level that I was going for. So yeah, now there's a few extra secrets. I test out the castle look as well. Cool looking, but not what I wanted to go for Pikmin, because I like the more natural outside look, of course. And one thing I need to figure out, if anyone knows, I need to mess with the background. I don't think there's a way to edit it, really, and there's like clouds underground and giant hills, which is not my intention. So yeah, I was hoping to change some of that, but I couldn't figure out how to grab the clouds and get rid of them and the hills and stuff. You can grab the blocks that the little bushes and stuff are on to move them around, as you saw me doing there. But yeah, I need to mess with this. I think eventually when we unlock different sections of the course, my idea is going to be to build the whole underground section in a different spot. We'll just take a warp pipe to get there. That way we can have normal level and the underground look separate, and it'll you know, fit the aesthetic a little more. I messed with these platforms a bit on top, so if you kind of run across, you can jump and do that. And here is one last playthrough of the course as I upload it. You have to beat the course before it lets you upload it for people to try. And at the end here, you'll get the idea, or the course ID, so that you can play it as well. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is that there's some secrets in those blocks under the onion, those question mark blocks, and you can't get them normally, but if you jump on that little Koopa on top of the big Koopa's back and use that to break through the blocks, you can unlock some of the little question mark blocks, and there is a star down there to help you just kind of jet through the course. So that's a little secret, but you got to be clever with how you're jumping. So I did put, like I mentioned, I put quite a few of these little mushrooms around to turn back into Olimar. That way, if you get hit, you're not gonna, you know, be Mario for the whole rest of the level. Those coins kind of show you that if you do bring back one of these flying little trampolines, then you can use it to get a secret, like I do here. So yeah, that was kind of a happy coincidence. Some of the stuff was where I put those there just to have something shooting out of the bullet bills, maybe as like a bait and switch, but it turned out well, and then I added a little path back up to the surface so you get this star, but you gotta look out, because at this point, the Lakitu's going with the Buzzy Beetles, which are a little scary, but there you go, you can grab this star and just kind of run along. You don't even have to go underground, but there's lots of spikes, lots of scary stuff here to deal with, so without the star, it's going to be more challenging. And of course, if you go underground, you can get right to that flag a little easier. There we go. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to leave a like, I definitely appreciate it. Let me know if you have any other course themes, because this was really fun to build. It did take me several hours to get to that point, so I'm glad I did the time-lapse option for you guys. If you want to see me build, of course, we could do episodes like that as well, and I'm going to highlight all of this new stuff we unlock, but at the same time, I think building and doing a time-lapse, hopefully you'll agree, is a little easier to digest, because you don't have to watch hours of me tweaking the course. But there's a nice little map at the bottom. You can see how the course looks, and I think it's pretty good for now. I'm going to mess with it later, but for now, there was the code. I'll put it in the description as well, and you can check it out. Thank you guys again for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have a suggestion for a new Amiibo costume to unlock, and we'll do that next time on Super Mario Maker.